This is just me doing it. I'm not gonna take your video. But you can tell me, oh, there you have like 100 people watching the channel. So yun. Okay, there we go.
Subscriber in the record. Ganun ka-poor ang aking. Pero malay mo, one of these days I go viral. Charot.
Magiging millionaire ako.
Sorry, nag-out na naman ako. You need it na, it's fine. Nagpupuga lang ako. Sige, kaya magkakala ko magawas man ko kayo, magbalik lang ko sa tingnan ni ma'am. Okay. Magdali na lang ko sa mga isahan. How ka maray signal? Maray signal pag low, ikat sa sulod. I mean, signal bahit po pag wifi? No, I mean, pagbubutang ko bahit ako ng screen. I-connect mo sa monitor? Duplicate. Unlimited ko na window. I-open an image. Di ba ito open? No. Mag-open na doon siya kung nalay na siya doon. Sige na. Ano si malamusik? Sige na. Awa siya na si. Ano ba? Yung window, anding F10. I-duplicate. Ayan. Very so much. You're welcome. Huwag niya siyang manilaw na ako ng next ID.
Sorry, I'm speaking in our dialect. Okay.
What is this? See if it works. This is weird. my gosh, what have I done? I'm sorry, okay? Hindi ako ano eh. Skin X. What pa nindot okay? This is skin X. What? Kaya mo sa ba?
Ano, G?
Napit ako na muna. Nakuha talaga niya.
Ano, no?
Like, sugad pa yung nagawa. Ano ito pati?
Full niya.
Very ako na. Like that. Current slide.
From beginning.
Okay. Display.
Oo. Kung ano yung notes.
What's this?
Hindi.
Ah, okay. Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Here. Here ka.
Oh, Maria?
Balik na din, baluan din yung setting.
Ano bilhin ni Matia again?
Exit.
Girl, I'm so sorry.
Kaligi. Yan.
Yeah. Ano mo to teach me yan, ha?
Wala, pinanilit lang.
Okay, so good morning, Regine. So this morning we're having writing task 1, the academic module. So writing task 1 involves processes or statistics, and these are either your graphs, your maps. Sometimes it describes how things are created. So you have a raw material and then a byproduct. We will be learning more about it. This is a learning objective. Okay, first is you should be able to know how to organize and write a task 1. Okay, you should be able to segregate your data and be able to present it because you have your body 1 and body 2. Next is learn how to interpret and group data. So this is the same, organize and group. However, interpretation is very important because you are going to, your score relies heavily on your overview. You will be learning more about this later on in the discussion. To become familiar with and then the last objective is to become familiar with the words commonly used in describing figures and grammatical links for organization. So, I want you to take note of this, and we'll be discussing this in the vocabulary part. Okay. What is writing task 1? In writing task 1, you are, for the entire writing exam, you are given 40 minutes, right? You have 40 minutes to answer writing task 1 and writing task 2. So you should be able to budget your time wisely between those two exams. Your writing task 1 is 150 words, and it's just 30% of your score. However, it requires analysis. That's a tricky part. You have to analyze the data you're being given. It is designed to test your ability to interpret and present information that is given in short form. Okay? The data is often found within a diagram, a graph, a chart, or a table. Have you seen the exercise? Not yet. Okay. So you must present the information in your own words as complete sentences within paragraphs. So, take note of this, your own words. Last night, I emphasized that you shouldn't copy, okay? Verbatim, because that is a form of plagiarism. And since this is academic writing, that is a very serious offense. you're also copying the examiner's words. That means you're gonna score low because you are just copying, repeating. If you see the band scores, you will understand what I mean. The minimum number of words you are required is 150. Do you have a test paper for your writing? Okay, so let's take a look at it. Okay, yeah. So, for the benefit of my fans, my zero fans, this is a writing task 1 paper, and you can see this is, most probably this is like 100 words, this part of the page, and then your back is, you are able to write 30 to 50 words here. But your goal is to reach up to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, here, okay? If you reach this, then most probably you have reached 150 words because per line is 100 words. And then all your, do not indent your paragraph. This is block writing. So begin your first word in this line, the edge of the line, in the margin. Okay? And to emphasize that you moved on to another paragraph, skip a line. Put a space in between paragraphs. Okay? In this exam, remember, writing task 1, you are not asked to give opinions, assumptions, or draw conclusions. Whatever you see on the paper, that's it. Okay? Nothing extra. It's okay to have less information because sometimes there are information that are not as significant or not as important. So it's fine if you don't include it. But you should never write anything in excess. Okay? Information may be presented to you in a number of ways. Okay? You have you have 2 groups. Okay, first group is you have your statistics. These are your 2 types of writing task 1. Okay, you get your statistics and then you've got your processes. The obvious difference between the 2 is that statistics has numbers. There's always a number there, either expressed in percentage or just a simple number in units. So there's always a number. For processes, you'll notice arrows because it's usually a flow chart. Okay? So for statistics, what are examples of statistics? Okay? Can we group them with the graphs? So starting from graphs, what do you think? Is a graph a statistic or a process? Okay, yes. Next. Pie chart
is statistics.
Exactly.
Table of information, statistics.
Very good. Sequence of events.
Sequence of events. Processes.
Yeah, very good.
Diagram of stages in processes.
Obviously.
Picture of an object showing how it works, processes.
Okay, so you get your statistics and you got your processes. So this is how you will present your idea. For both of this, there each one has a different approach, and we'll be discussing it later. So I want you to take note of that. Let's move on. First of all, you must fully understand the task and what you are asked to do. I'm going to teach you how to do this later. Spend a minute or two working out what it is that you are looking at and what information you must give. So before diving into the nitty-gritty of how to write task 1, I want to teach you, so here's the statistics. Get bar graphs. Bar graphs are independent of each other. So the data doesn't affect the other. Usually like data from different countries, separated according to gender or sex, like male or female. So regardless, the data of another country or of a certain group does not affect the other. So it's independent. Pie charts, on the other hand, is dependent because it's part of the whole, like 100%. So if one sector increases, one sector is one slice. If one sector increases, then another will be sacrificed, like it will decrease. It's interdependent. Okay, and then line graphs show you how numbers have changed over time. So they are used when you have data that are connected, and it also used to show trends. So here you will notice that sometimes they will intersect. Okay, the intersections are very important when you're writing your overview. This is part of your highlights. Next, Cartesian graphs. Is this kind of complex and rarely seen in your IELTS? When it comes to your bar graph and line graph, you have axes. You still remember this from elementary, high school, and college. So this is where's your X? Your X is in the past. Okay, that's your X. And then, yes, you're right, it's horizontal, and this is your Y. So this is your X-axis and your Y-axis. Okay? And when you interpret the data, usually the 0 is here, right, at the right angle. So you go up, numbers would usually go up here, and like that. That is how you interpret it. But be careful, because sometimes, not all graphs starts out with 0. Sometimes you start at 100 or 1,000, depending. So you also have to be careful when you are when you are already interpreting your graph. Next, what are the common parts of a statistics diagram? This is a statistics diagram, right? Okay, you got your volume, or where you can find the measurements. This is very important because you have to mention this in your introduction. Okay? You have to mention these things in your introduction. You have to mention the volume. Okay, what is the measurement? Is it being measured in meters, cubic meters? Is it being measured in 1 in 1,000? Is it in percentage? Is it, so you have to take note of that. And then next is specifics. You got a timestamp because this is going to determine the tenses that you're going to use when writing your body and your overview. Okay. We'll be discussing about that more. Okay. What's the event? Where? If it's a survey, was it conducted in the United Kingdom, or was it like a worldwide survey divided into different continents, divided into different countries? So you have that, and then other data that you could see on the illustration should also be included in your introduction. Basically, your introduction has to have your 4 wives and 1 husband. That's your who, what, where, when, and how.
gosh, no one's watching me.
How sad. I'm only watching myself. Just tell me to go, okay? That's your job. And when I'm handling classes, I want interaction from the students, so I will be asking you to do exercises. Okay? Is that fine? I think you learn more. Like you learn more that way when you're interacting and you also have a participation rather than just sitting and receiving. Okay. Now let's move on to processes. What are your processes again? So when it comes to processes, you've got this specific information on the stages, events, or details. Again, when you are writing, do not copy the words. If you can change the word or paraphrase it, do so. But if it's technical and you don't really know, you don't know what the alternatives are, then just stay safe and use whatever the jargon is. Okay? Now, when it comes to this, the trick is either you follow the numbers or follow the arrows. But sometimes the arrows goes in different direction. Okay? And also, there are main processes like the ones that are bold or bigger, the font size is bigger. Those are your main processes. So when writing your overview, highlight those. Task. Okay, when you're looking at your task 1 exercise, you should have a mental checklist. Okay, this will help you when you do brain mapping. Brain mapping is one tool that you could use so it would be easier for you to write an essay. Okay? It's different because brain mapping is visualization. So you could visualize your ideas, and once you write down your ideas on paper, it's organized. Okay? You will notice that for example, if you don't have a mental checklist and you don't have a brain map, sometimes you are writing down your ideas and you're already at maybe paragraph 3, and then you'd have to go back and erase everything because you skipped something or you missed something. That takes a lot of your time, and then you have to recall what you erased. So you do the process all over again, and now you wasted time. This is why some students are not able to finish their writing exercise on time. Okay? So, if you're planning to use 15 minutes for your writing task 1, use the first 5 minutes to do checklist, a mental checklist, and a brain map. Brain mapping, I will be discussing it later. Okay? So for your checklist, when you're writing your task 1, check what kind of chart it is. Because when you write your introduction, you're going to say the pie chart illustrates. The pie chart shows, for example, the bar graph. So you have to know, you need to identify what chart it is. Then, what does the title say about the chart? Because you will incorporate the title again in your which part? The title. You will incorporate this in your introduction. Okay? And then, what are the information contained in both axes? Again, this is for introduction. What is the unit of measurement? Is it age, percentage, amount? What groups are being compared? Usually this is male or female. Sometimes it's 0 to 5 years old, 5 to 10 years old, so that the age groups, yeah? And then what is the time period? Is it in the past, the present, or future? Because the tenses of your body and overview is going to rely heavily on this. What is the most obvious thing that the data shows you? Is there an increase, a decrease? What is the highest? What is the lowest? What is the biggest? What is the smallest? What are at the same levels, the first, second, third? Okay? That is going to show in you're going to write about it in your overview. Next, what is the most significant part of information displayed? This is again your overview. Okay, can any comparisons be made? Is it a static chart or a dynamic chart? Because when it comes to a static chart, you have only one time period, and a dynamic one covers a different time period. Now, your problem with this one or your challenge with dynamic chart is you have to switch. Well, sometimes you don't need to, but what if you have data for the future? You've got past data and you've got future data. Then you would be predicting, right? So it is predicted in the foreseeable future. Okay, so you will be using those terms. Okay. Now you have your statistics, and then your statistics is divided to what? What kind of data?
Input,
You've got your static.
static, and dynamic.
What is static data?
What time period?
Yeah. Okay, one. And then dynamic is
Over time.
over time. Okay? So learn to know the difference. There will be examples coming up later. How to do a mind map. It's very important. Have you done this before?
Not yet.
Not yet. But when you are writing down your ideas, how do you usually do it?
Bullet, like
Bullet type. Okay. So yeah, you can use bullet type if it's what you are used to. So this is an example of a mind map. Okay. You have a central idea. Usually put it in the middle. So what you're going to do is, if you have a paper, your answer sheet, your task sheet, you could write there at the bottom there would usually be a space. So you could put there, like, what is the main idea? Put there the main idea. In this instance, what is our main idea? We're talking about writing task 1, correct? This morning, isn't that our main idea?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So please call me Jen. We're equals, okay? You get your writing task 1. And then from writing task 1, what do you want to write about it? Okay, what were the discussions?
The graphs.
We discussed about the types, right? Okay, and you just divide it, with your arrows, okay? So it's just like that. Okay, so types, for example, it's not a graph, it's called the statistics, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Statistics. And then you've got your processes. Okay? And then your statistics, you would have dynamic. And get your dynamic, and at the bottom is your another one. Only 1 times 3. Static. Okay, static. So you got your static. For statistics, what do you have for statistics? You've got your bar, your line, your pie. Am I correct? Okay, for processes, you've got procedure, you got steps, you got cycles, you got diagrams. So you could do something like this. Okay. The secret to it is you have to look for relationships. Let's look at an exercise. For example, this one. The following table, want to take a picture of this? Okay, so we can look back. The following table gives statistics showing the aspects of quality of life in 5 countries. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So, okay, when we look at this, what do you think is the topic? Quality of life, right? So we're writing about quality of life. Okay? And then what are the parts of your essay? You got your intro, correct? You got your intro. You've got your overview. Then you got your body. Then you got your body 1, and then you got your body 2. So you can do something similar to this. Okay. For your intro, you would need to write about quality of life. Okay? And 5 countries. What were the questions in your checklist? Okay. What are the questions in the checklist that we had earlier? Can you look at your X? This is your X now. Bangladesh, Bolivia, Egypt, Indonesia, USA. Yeah?
What kind of chart is it?
So you write here in the 5 countries, mention them. And then your y-axis, okay? Divided into, what are the sectors? You've got GNP per head, expressed in
Yes, no.
US dollars. You got daily calorie supply per head, life expectancy at birth expressed in years, the age. Okay, infant mortality rate per 1,000 live births. So you should be able to mention this. This is just your introduction. Okay.
So the X part, yes.
So you take note, what is the X, what is the Y? What is the title? Okay, what about your overview? What is the highest? Okay, what is the lowest? This is how you're going to separate your data. You understand? Okay, now, what about your body 1 and body 2, okay? So maybe you want to discuss about your top 3, and then you discuss your bottom 2. Because there's 5, okay? That's one approach. There are many approaches, but this is one approach that you could use. The theories or principles presented in mind mapping, you can use it when you are analyzing your data, okay? Your task 1 data, as well as your task 2 data. Okay? First is look for relationships. What are the relationships present? Okay, highest, lowest, same. Okay, are there opposites? Like opposites? You understand? Like for example, maybe USA has the highest. The men are the highest users of internet, and they have the lowest user. The female are the lowest users of internet. Meanwhile, Europe has the highest female users, but the lowest male users. So it's opposite, right? So that's another relationship that you can show. Okay, remember your line graph? Your pie chart is interdependent. So how does one sector affect the other? You can explain that if you see that pattern. So use lines, colors, arrows, or branches, or some other way of showing connections between the ideas generated on your mind map. These relationships may be important in you understanding new information or constructing a structured essay plan. By personalizing the map with your own symbols and designs, you will be constructing visual and meaningful relationships between ideas, which will assist in your recall and understanding. Very important in your first 5 minutes that you understand what you are writing about. Okay? It saves you time. Better to strategize. It's It's better if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So draw quickly on line paper without pausing, judging, or editing. But in this case, go and look at your paper, okay? Just make sure that you're writing down the correct values, okay, the correct statistics, because that is a markdown for you, that's accuracy. If your data is not accurate, it's a markdown for you. Write down the key ideas. And key ideas are found on your X and Y axis. And when it comes to processes, the key ideas are usually bigger font and bold. Or maybe they are italicized, okay, because they're special. Okay, put the main idea in the center, just like what we did. Okay, we're talking about the quality of life, and then leave lots of space for your edits, or to brush out, or to add something. So let's take a look at this. Okay, you have this right in your phone, correct? Now, looking at the picture on your phone, what is the table measuring? What is being measured?
Life expectancy.
What else?
Um,
How many things are you measuring?
5.
5? Please tell me what those 5 are.
Birth.
Okay, birth is 1. What else?
Per 1,000 and birth.
Yeah, this is another one. So 2, 1, 2. Then you got your 3, you got your 4. Okay, these are the 4 things you are measuring. You are not measuring the country. Okay, the countries are your reference points. But per country, you measure this, correct? Next. This is analyzing data. Okay, I'm teaching you now how to analyze data. What type of language do you need to use? Change? Or is it compare and contrast? Do you see a timestamp? What year was this data collected?
1982.
It doesn't really say that, okay? But the currency as of 1982. The exchange as of 1982. What this is this a static or a dynamic data?
Then
Do you see a timestamp? What year? Static. Yeah, static. There is no data actually. And okay. So there is no given date. 1982 is maybe this is the as of 1982 this was like how much the dollar was, because sometimes there's inflation rate. So in 1982 this was how much it is, but 140 in 1982 could be like maybe a million today, depending on the economy. So as of 1982, this is the GNP per head in USD. But it doesn't literally mean that all these values were done in that year, because it doesn't say the quality of life in 4 countries in 1982. Okay? So, if it's only 1 year, if it's a static diagram, can you spot a change? Will there be a change?
Really.
Huh?
It's only 1 year.
Oh, so there's no change. Therefore, maybe the way that you could answer this or attack this is through comparing and contrasting between the 5 different countries. Okay? Between the 5 different countries and between this 4. So for example, 140 Hello, how much time do you have today? Okay, we take a break at 12 and then let me just break at 12. Today is Wednesday. Then 1 to 4 yung lalako. Okay, so let's do this fast. Okay, so for example here, what do you think has the highest GNP?
USA.
USA, and the highest GNP is, lowest, sorry, is Bangladesh. Okay? So, if that is the case, they eat more. They eat more than the Bangladeshis. That daily calorie would probably be about eating, correct? Or nutrition. Yeah. Next, life expectancy. See? Highest as well. Lowest. Infant mortality, 132. Highest. USA, lowest. You see the relationship. You see the relationship. The higher your money is, the more food you take, the higher the life expectancy is, and the lower your mortality rate is. Okay? Get it? Meanwhile, if you come from a poor country like Bangladesh with a low GNP, you eat less, you die early. I mean, yeah, you're short-lived. Okay, 40 years old, you die early, more debts. More debts at a young age. Okay, you understand now the relationships? Next, which country has the best quality of life and which has the worst? Okay, sorry, this one first. What tense would you use? Past. Because of your 1980.
Okay.
Yeah. Although it doesn't say here, but implied here. Okay, so you get your past. But for your introduction, write in the present. Okay, because you will say this paragraph, or wait, I mean like this chart, okay, the diagram shows, okay, because you are just introducing the diagram. So, present. But when it comes to your data, from overview downwards to your, onwards to your body, it would depend on your timestamp. And your timestamp. I will explain that later. In this case, we'll do the okay. Now, which country has the best quality of life?
USA.
Worst?
Bangladesh.
Perfect. What information would you use for an overview? What information could you use as an overview?
We've explained that earlier. I've given examples earlier. What is your overview again? What do you pick out for your overview? Okay, so highest,
Is USA.
lowest.
Bangladesh.
Okay, so you could do that, okay, for your overview. Are there any instance there na the same? None, no. Do you think so? None?
57, maybe Olympiad information.
Okay. Yes, you could say that their G and P almost the same. Okay? Or approximately.
Approximately the same.
No, approximately and approximately the same is a bit awkward. So we need to say approximately 580. Or you could say with a $10 difference. But that is when you're discussing already in the body. Because for your overview, you do not give data. Okay, it's very generic. But anyways, I'll walk you through that, okay? So, how would you group the info? How would you group the information? Because this is for body, writing the body. How will you group the info?
Like, what kind of book?
Okay, so let me just give you an idea on how to group your info. Usually the easiest way is to go from highest to lowest. So in this case, it's only 5. So maybe you could discuss the first 3 highest.
USA,
This is USA, Egypt. Okay, I highly suggest that you do USA and Egypt.
Also
Two only because these are so near each other. So group them together instead. Okay. So that's your paragraph 1. This is your body 1, and then your body 2 are these 3. Okay, and then you discuss. But you have to compare and contrast. Like what I did earlier. You still remember I said like the USA has the highest GNP at 1,3160. However, Bangladesh has the lowest at just over $100. You could say just over $100.
Also, we did have that specified.
Yes, there are ways on how to express your ideas without really writing down the specifics. So you could compare and contrast in that way. Okay. USA has a higher life expectancy with average life expectancy at. Okay. That's one way you could present by country. Another way is you discuss GNP and daily calorie or life expectancy and mortality. For example, you say highest GNP per head, okay, is USA blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, for daily calorie, blah, 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 blah. But you're supposed to be able to contrast because what does it say here in your task?
Summarize the information, extracting, reporting the main features, and make comparisons.
So what is your main task? How many tasks do you have here?
Summarize the information, make comparisons.
So you need to select and report the main features. Correct? That's one, and then you have to make comparisons. If you don't meet this task requirement, you will just end up having a 4. The band 4. It's very important for you to be critical about what are the tasks you are being required. Okay. For example, here you need to compare, not contrast. Comparing is finding similarities, am I right? And contrasting is finding the
Difference.
okay? But do you have a select vocabulary for that one? Comparing, you say like, similar to. For contrast, you say in contrast. However, different. Okay? So, vocabulary. How many paragraphs would you have and what you would write about in each one? So usually you have 4 paragraphs in your essay, 5 is too much. It's like overkill. So you have 4 paragraphs. First is you have your paragraph 1, which is your introduction. Then you got paragraph 2, which is your overview. And you've got paragraph 3 and paragraph 4, which is your body 1 and then your body 2. Okay, we will be discussing that here. Okay, this is another form of mental checklist. What's the topic? What language are you going to use? What is the time? What tense should you use? Okay, what's your overview going to be? Group. If you're mind mapping, hey, my God, not again. So much static, I probably like gross. So, for example, for my mapping, okay? So, your topic, what's your topic? You put it here. And then, language. These are like reminders for you. What language are you going to use? And language is, for example, are you going to be writing in the past? So for your intro, what is it supposed to be? Present simple. Okay? So you just put there, para 1, intro, para 2, onwards, depending on the time. In this case, in this example, this is we're going to be writing in the past. Okay? Okay. So time and tense. This is time. We use past. Okay. What about your overview? What do you want to write in your overview? Then you put here. Maybe you want to rank. Okay? So maybe you want to say USA. I'll forget the other countries, okay? So I'll just make them up, okay? So it's just X1, X2, X3, then you've got your Bolivia. Okay? And since it's only 5, you could mention them. Rank from the highest to the lowest. You could rank it like that according to quality of life. So you put there quality of life. Okay. The best quality of life is experienced by, instead of saying USA, you say Americans.
Okay.
Okay, followed by X1, blah blah blah. However, how to show the contrast or comparison, however, Bolivia is the poorest among them all. Okay, or I'm sorry, Bangladesh, my God. Bangladesh. Okay? Will Bolivia is poor. Sorry. If you don't skip a line, okay, this is, I told you earlier, when you're writing a paragraph, what do you need to do? Okay, when you're writing your essay, what do you need to do? Where will you write your first word in a paragraph?
No indents.
Yeah, no intention. And then how do you show that you have moved into another paragraph?
Give us space.
Yeah, so skip a line. Okay? If you don't do this, you will receive a band 5. Or below because of coherence and cohesion. Because you have not demonstrated any knowledge on paragraphing or how to make paragraphs. You will also lower your mark for coherence because an essay with no paragraphs is very difficult to understand. Now, you will make the examiner's job more difficult than it needs to be, and this is probably not a good idea. Okay? I have encountered this with students when I'm editing their work. Sometimes their first paragraph ends at the margin itself, then their next paragraph starts again at the very beginning of the margin. So how can you tell the difference that he has moved on to another paragraph? So leave a space. Okay? It's a very common problem. Here's an example. Mind mapping, again, is very important. If if you are attending a lecture, for example, this one, a seminar, a workshop, and tutorial. Okay, do you want to go? Okay, because it adds structure. You could visualize it better. Can you imagine it when I started throwing out the writing task like earlier? Okay, or when I'm starting to write these lines and diagrams, it's easier to comprehend, right? Than me just blah 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 blah. Okay, so if you want to, if you don't understand, you could actually just draw on your notes. Let's do this exercise. You need to complete the report by putting the correct word, phrase, or number into each gap. Okay? I want you to analyze first what are you doing when you go and when you have your checklist. What are the things that you should check?
What kind of chair?
Check the timestamp. Is there a timestamp?
What kind of chart is it? What does the title say?
So do you see a timestamp? What year was the survey done? None.
Each
So what tense are you going to write it in?
present.
Very good. Okay? Can you answer that? Time. So skim. So this is skimming. Time. Time. So time that
Time that the black holes ink inspector recon sports and exercise.
so these are your choices. Time. That's your keyword. So what is the time? What's the answer then?
16 to 24.
24-year-olds in England spend per week on sport and exercise. Okay, it is clear from the chart that blank are less active in their leisure time than blank. So who has, it says here, less active. So who are less active? Females are less active. Young women, in this case, it's young women, okay? Young women are less active because this is called changing, it's paraphrasing it, okay? Because as much as possible, you don't copy the words. So young women are less active in their leisure time than young men. There is a striking difference between the percentages of men and women who prefer not to participate in sport in their free time. Almost blank of young women devote no time. So no time. So how many percent of young women devote? 40? Females, correct. 40-ish. So where is that? Is it 2/3? Is it a fifth, a quarter, 2/5? 45. Um, 25% is a quarter. 25%. A fifth is 20. 2/5 is 40. Okay? So this is one way of expressing it instead of saying 40%. You understand now? Okay. If you have any questions, just tell me. Because it's like a lot of information for you. And you haven't even done the exercise yet, so you're like, these are all theories. I don't understand. There is a similar difference between the percentages of very active young people, almost black men between the ages of 16 and 24 play sport for blank or more hours in a week. So equal. We're going to look for equal, right? So there is a similar almost. How many men?
20.
It's a 20%. So 20% again is a fifth. Okay, almost a fifth men. Oh.
A fifth of men.
For how many hours?
1, 2,
1 to 3 hours a week. The figure for young women is only, okay, it's almost the same. Let's take a look at this. Okay, a fifth of both men and women. The fact that only 2/5 of young women spend an hour or more a week in sport compared to approximately 2/3 of young men raises questions about how fit young women are in comparison to young men. You understand? This is an example of an answer to a bar graph.
Ma'am, can you take a picture of the example?
It's already.
Ah.
Just kidding. This one?
Uh,
Okay. Take a photo.
Just for reference.
Yeah. How come I don't have any fans?
Maybe they're sleeping.
Sometimes, if you know, I posted something about the IELTS and the people who messaged me were Indians. Tense use exercise. What about this? Tell me. Did you see a timestamp?
1961.
Therefore, you're going to write in what tense? Past tense. Okay, so let's just skip this exercise. Maybe you want to take a photo instead and do this exercise at home.
Okay.
Just because we're running out of time. I actually prepared 105 slides and we're only at a fourth of it, a quarter. So this is the answer if you want to. Okay, so you can do this exercise at home and practice. Again, recapitulate everything. Paragraph 1 is,
Introduction.
paragraph 2,
Overview.
paragraph 3,
Body.
paragraph 4.
Body paragraph.
Okay, you don't have a conclusion, okay? Because your conclusion is already your, okay, just in a different position with different marker. Okay, there you go. For your paragraph 2, it's general, no details. Body 1 and body 2 have details. Details for specifics. I can send you this copy. If you want to, I could email this to you instead.
Okay.
So, because this is mine. Most of it is mine. Anyways, how to write the introduction? The easiest way to write the introduction is paraphrase. Do you know how to paraphrase? No. Okay, I'm going to teach you tricks and skills and how to do it. So, paraphrase the task description using your what?
Your own words.
Your own, huh? Nothing copied. Exactly. Of course, again, if you're having difficulty, try to find another word form or it's a jargon, it's so difficult, like bioessence or, you know, like DNA. There's no other way of saying that in a different word, right? So just copy. Make use of other information you can find on figure Like, again, we have discussed this earlier. They should be present in your introduction. Okay. A lot of debate here in this class saying, now, is it okay if we could use one sentence as a paragraph? Some instructors say no, it needs to be 2 to 3. Actually, if you've done journalism, it's a common practice that the first paragraph in a news article is usually just one sentence. And it is complete with your who, what, where, when, and how. You have to be skilled in doing that. For example, Rodrigo Duterte went to Tacloban City on February 25, 2019, Wednesday, to inaugurate the opening of Balloon Tower. Something like that. Okay, it's everything there, correct? Who, what, where, when, how. And it's just one sentence. According to Lunsford and Connors 116, a paragraph is a group of sentences or a single sentence that forms a unit. Okay? So do not pressure yourself na, dapat 2 to 3 sentence, one sentence up na mo. Is this a paragraph? It is a paragraph. Okay? But make sure you leave a space after it so that the examiner will go, it is a paragraph.
But ma'am, if you make one, like a single sentence, would the band score be affected?
No, actually, it's better because it's longer, most probably is more complex than a simple sentence. A simple sentence is a lower band score. Okay? If you could look at the task descriptors for the IELTS exam, you will see that to get a 5 or 6, you should attempt, that's just 6, okay? Attempting to, I think 5 is attempt to, like conjugations or like use of different kinds of sentences. If you use just simple sentences are short because you only have one subject and one predicate. That is band 3, 4. That's how low you're gonna get. It's not wrong. You could use that. But
lower than you.
yeah, but it's a lower band score. But for my class, I want to teach you to get a higher band score. Because after all, if you're going to go to the UK, 6.5, that's our goal, 6.5. But you don't really want to just aim for 6.5. You want to get a 7, just in case, your performance here should be at least an 8 or a 7. So in the actual grading, you get, what's it, 7? I thought it is an up. Wow. Thank you. Okay. So in some styles of writing, particularly journalism, again, paragraph can be just one sentence long. A paragraph is a sentence or group of sentences that support one main idea. If you get 2 main ideas, it's not going to be a compound sentence or a complex sentence, and then you have to use your conjunctions. I tried to insert that in this discussion, so we'll just move on quickly so you could also get a glimpse on how to do it. But in other lectures, I would then again emphasize it because there are new people coming in every time. So, and these are just repeated theories anyway. So, okay. When you use one sentence paragraph, it is usually used for emphasis. But for your IELTS exam, recommended to use one paragraph only for your introduction and nowhere else. The model you build must answer the following 3 questions. How do you start your introduction? What type of information are you going to put in your introduction? We've discussed this, right? You know this already, and okay. So how do you write that? Again, what tense are we going to use for introduction? The bar graph shows. The bar graph shows. Okay. here. Use present simple to write about graphic and about processes. Okay? And then use past simple to write about the past. But again, this all depends if you have a in the, and the time stamp is in the past, before 2019. Because we're 2019 now. And then use passive voice often to write about processes, predictions, and sometimes maps. Especially this maps and processes. It always in the passive voice. Is sent to blah blah blah. You're imagining that it is a processes that happened maybe yesterday. Okay. Dates and tenses. You know this already, correct? There's no date, present tense. Past, past tense. Future, future tense. Okay. Signaling language. Okay. Pay close attention to this. Okay. Overlap means that you repeat something from the previous sentence. This is one technique for you to connect your ideas. This is going to be useful, especially for your overview and for your body. Okay. Pattern of inflammation during an asthma attack is different from that seen in stable asthma. Okay. So you just repeat it. In stable asthma. Another way is, instead of repeating it, you could use a pronoun. Like, it. Okay, like it. You could say, it's not applicable in this sentence. But you know, when you're referring to stable asthma, you can say it is a common upper respiratory infection for people living in cities. Understand? This is, you can use this for your overview, your bodies, and your bodies. Body 1 and body 2. Okay. You could say this or these. Okay? These are sentence connectors. Difference of this and these. This is like singular, these plural. Example. Here. These methods. Okay? This combination. Okay? Great. If you want me to explain more about something, just tell me. Okay? Here. Okay? If you don't want to finish the sentence at all, you could join it with a conjunction, semicolon, or a relative clause like which. In this case, instead of creating another sentence, instead of putting a period, because it's the same, almost the same idea, one main topic, he just used a semicolon. On the other hand, which, you could also use which to connect your sentences. When you use these connectors, you are actually getting high grades for it. So you should develop a skill in doing this.
Ma'am, are you allowed to use commas when connecting sentences?
No, a comma is not a connector. If you use a comma, there is a gap. It's a very obvious gap.
So,
That-
semicolon.
Yeah, that is why if you use a comma, for example, here, comma, this means the tests are really repeated. It's awkward, right? There is a gap. You use a semicolon. Another alternative is you use which is a relative clause. Another is you use conjunctions. These are your fanboys. Okay, we'll talk about that. Okay, this is F, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Okay, maybe you want to take note of this. You should be using this frequently in your writing. Okay? I don't need to take note. I'm going to send this to you. Okay? Here are other conjunctions that you can use. For comparing and contrasting, you can say but, however, instead, although, unless. These are conjunctions for showing time, before,
use word prior? And
Yes.
time?
Yes, you can. Okay, other conjunctions or transition words. You can use this in either form. That depends, because writing is an art. Okay? And you have a higher band score when you are able to express yourself in different manners or in different forms. You should be able to do that in practice. Okay? Showing choice, more or. Okay? I will not be going through it one by one, since I'm going to be sending this slide to you. Just read again, read, choose your favorites, and use it. For example, especially this. Because for writing task 1, you are always being tasked to contrast or compare. So this is going to be your favorite.
Rather.
This one. This is going to be your favorite for writing task 1. Okay? Showing consequence or reason, coordinating, correlative, subordinating. Now these are on the other hand, you can use this for processes, showing line. Your processes, because before harvesting the raw cacao seeds, you have to plant the tree, of course, something like that. Okay. After harvesting the cacao seeds, you process it into a chocolate. But before hitting the market, it has to be delivered, something like that. And then showing choice, these ones are for your writing task too. Okay? There's another, a different discussion for writing task. Going back, how to paraphrase. Okay, how to paraphrase. Okay? Oh no, paragraphing, sorry. 2 common errors in paragraphing. Clusters of short or single sentence. This is what I'm telling you. To do away with short and simple sentences. That's a low band score. Okay? And then, but however, you also have a problem if paragraphs are too long. If it's occupying 3 lines already, that's probably very long. So you have to cut them short. You can cut them, eliminate the unnecessary words, or use the connectors. Okay? Paraphrase. This is the art of rewriting information and ideas from your reading to your own words. It shows that you really understand the reading you have done. A paraphrase is usually about the same length as the original. Okay, so if you have a task, then usually your paraphrase is about the same length as your task. It will be a bit longer because you're going to be adding the other information in the graph or diagram. Avoid plagiarism, copying the words, especially 3 words that are next to each other. If you have that problem, you've already copied 3 words that are next to each other, then that's really plagiarism. If you do a scan and confiscate online, it will pop out. Okay, so one way wherein online writers are trying to copy escape, so that they will not be penalized for plagiarism, is to do not copy 3 words next to each other. That's what we do. So I also recommend that. So it's very easy. You run a, for example, an essay or an article or a thesis and copy escape, then they will know if you plagiarized it. Next, paraphrasing. So paraphrasing does not match the word. Okay, that does not match the word source. Involves putting a section of a text in your own words. Changes the words or phrasing in a passage but keeps the original meaning. Okay? This one it's okay, it's just fine. Okay, because we're not referencing anyone. Okay, so summarizing, and this is your overview. Does not match the source word for word again. Putting the main ideas into your own words and including only the main points. So how do you paraphrase? to change the structure of the sentence. And then change the words. So how do you do this? You read the original, you try to understand the full meaning, okay? Note what the main words or main points are, and then think about its synonyms. Okay? You encircle the specialized words that you would need to paraphrase and underline any keywords that you can change. Okay, and it's good also to brainstorm. If you have, for example, what would be quality of life? Okay, so if you want to brainstorm on this, to underline the keywords that can be changed, what are the keywords that you can change here? Maybe Filipinos, you can say people living in the Philippines, huh?
The locals.
Or the locals, or natives of the Philippines, okay? So you could do something like that. Quality, what about quality? Kind, or type, or lifestyle. You can do like that. And when you can answer writing, you can crush out, okay, I've used this word already. So you know that you're not making that. Okay. Okay. Another word for Filipino might be islanders of the Philippines, for example. Okay. So maybe you can add it there if you are already doing your brain map. Remember? So when you're writing down, you have plenty of ideas. You don't run out of words. There's no redundancy. Okay. How do you change vocabulary? Do you have Merriam-Webster downloaded on your phone? Yeah. So it's an offline app and you can use it to check. If you're just answering here in class, use it to your advantage. Okay? Because these are like the words that are used in the exercises are usually the same. So use it to your advantage when you're doing your writing exercise. Look for synonyms. If you don't understand a word, go search for it. Because the topics in IELTS fall on the same category. It's either about health, about economics, environment, so culture. They're very similar, so you'll probably have the same word choices. Build your vocabulary that way. Okay. How can you change the vocabulary? Synonyms. If you don't know what the synonym is, maybe you can give examples. Or you can define it. Okay, so marketing. Instead of saying marketing, you say buying goods. So you're defining it. Or you change the form of the word. Marketing, to go to the market. You change the word form. You say marketed. And the use of its use in the sentence. Varied sentence pattern, okay? So you could use passive voice and gerund, okay? This is also applicable for your writing task too. Okay, these are general ideas. So what is a passive voice? Passive voice, usually, this is where the object, okay? Here's the difference. For passive voice, the action is done upon the subject. Very basic thing to do. So, how can you identify it? You find the main action, okay? And then find out what it, okay, find the main action. Then next, find the main subject. What is the main subject doing? What is it doing? That is the main action. Then cut out the main subject and the main out loud. So, for example, this is an example. Once a week, Tom cleans the house. Once a week, the house is cleaned by Tom. So you could notice here that the action or the object is now at the beginning instead at the end. Tom, subject. For active, the subject is at the beginning. For passive, it's at the end. The action here is at the beginning. And then the object is at the last part. Here, the object is at the last. The house is clean. Okay, if you are referring to people in general, it's better to use a construction with it. Or, what is it? Define what it is. For example, healthcare workers. Or environmentalists. It is also common to use the passive, especially in the body. Another way for paraphrasing, creating gerunds for ing, baking, cooking. You could also change the order of ideas. Okay? So, for example, please take time, place, then the subject. So, change of order of ideas, when you create a sentence, you could put the subject first, and then the time, then the date, something like that. Okay, so just change the sequence or the order. Okay, and then you could also change the word class. Making the noun, turning the nouns to verbs, the verbs to nouns, or something like that. Here's an example. Noun, beauty, verb, beautify, adjective, beautiful, adverb, beautifully. So, if in a sentence, beauty was the word used, then find an alternative. Use it as a verb, an adjective, or an adverb. You're not copying. Okay, it's not letter for letter. See? It has changed already. Okay, what are the other techniques? Break long sentences into short ones and make abstract ideas more concrete. In our example earlier, it says 5 countries. Correct? So instead of just saying 5 countries, what are these 5 countries? Name them. The abstract, 5 countries is abstract, but Philippines included there. You don't know because it's abstract. So make it more concrete by naming them. But if it's more than 3, better not to name them because it's too long. For your introduction. This is only for your introduction, okay? If it's 3 or more for your introduction, do not name them. But if it's just 3 or 4, yes. Kasi naman, if it's 4, kawawa naman si number 4, hindi 1, no, diba? So just include number 4. Yeah. You will say, America, Europe, Antarctica, and others. No, but it's only one and other, or etc. It's awkward, right? So just include number 4 if you have only 4, max of 4. What are the 8 pitfalls of paraphrasing? Okay, when you're paraphrasing, be careful of this. Okay, forgetting to acknowledge the source or the author. If you forget, never mind. Okay, this is not applicable in our case. Misreading the original. Including too much of the original. Leaving out important info, please don't. You know what to find, right? You need to find the time, what is in the X, what is in the Y, how is it measured, what date, what is the title. Do you remember that? If it's segregated, what are the segregations? It's very important. Do not add your opinion. And then summarize rather than paraphrase. You just no need to summarize, paraphrase. Substituting inappropriate synonyms. Sometimes you feel, like for example, the word is efficient. Efficient and proficient almost has the same meaning. But when you apply it in a sentence, it's not really almost the same meaning because if you're saying she is an efficient worker, like you use your time wisely and you achieve more, correct? But I cannot say you are proficient in what you're doing. Are you proficient in it? Like, is that really your expertise? Like, are you really the best among the rest? when you're doing it. So there's almost synonymous, but different meaning. Exactly. Expanding or narrowing the meaning. So, example of this. The growth in crime among teenagers can be attributed to an increase in the use of violent video games. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Okay? The student or the examinee attempted to paraphrase this, and his answer was, the rise of acts of violence in young ones are often viewed as being caused by the exposure to fierce audio-visual games. Is this correct or not?
The rise of violence.
Okay. What do you think is the challenge, or what do you think is wrong with this paraphrasing example? The use of the word violent, acts of violence.
It sounds awkward.
Huh?
It sounds awkward.
Therefore, most probably it is wrong. Isn't it that the right word for this is act of violence? Okay? It says here, growth in crime. Acts of violence is just one form of crime. There are other crimes. You see, almost the same meaning, almost synonymous. But however, there are lots of crimes. Infidelity sometimes is considered a crime, isn't it? You go to jail for that one in the Philippines. So, it's not an act of violence. How about this? Teenagers. So what's the usual age for teenagers? How old are they?
13
2?
to 16, 17.
18, maybe, because teenagers, young ones,
Young ones is usually 6 to 10.
something like that. Like you're not sure. So again, inappropriate synonyms. Often viewed as being caused by the exposure to fierce audio visual games. Like, what is fierce? Because these days there's a different meaning for fierce, right? If you've been watching Naomi Campbell, is it her who has America's Next Top Model? I'm not sure, but maybe it's her. But she likes to use the word fierce. Oh, you look fierce. Vague. Okay? You get now? You get it now? Here. When you take note of this, these are introductory expressions. So when you're introducing your paragraph, you say a graph, a table, or pie chart shows. Okay? This is another form. It is clear from the graph when you're already explaining for your body. For your body, you say it is clear from the graph, or it can be seen from the graph. This is for your body. It can be seen from the graph. This is already your body. And usually this are being followed by a clause that starts with that. Okay? Or followed by a noun or noun phrase or a mini clause. Usually, of course. To make it a complete sentence, you have to have a main clause. Here goes. The following diagram shows how pencils are manufactured. Write a report for a university lecturer describing the information shown below. Okay, what type of task 1, writing task 1 is this? Exercise. You get 2 types, therefore what is this?
Processes.
Very good. It's processes by, what do you see?
Arrows.
The arrows, okay? And then, look at this. You already have a guide on how to divide your body. You got your pencil. Following the pencil leads, and then how to make the pencil pieces. That's how, this is one way to divide your idea into two bodies. Okay? And because this is a process, for your overview, you have to highlight what was the raw material, or where did it start? The beginning and the end. Yeah. Here's another one. So for this, you need to compare and contrast. Because look, this is what does it say here? And this is? Okay, so you have to compare and you have to contrast. Okay. So for example, like how do I divide the data? So you could divide the data, for example, by according to television, newspaper, or radio. That's one way. Or you could divide the data according to the world news or to local news. But the highlight of it all is that, what is the highlight? Highest and lowest, or the highest and lowest here. Overall, okay, because we're now working on the overviews, then we will not be using specifics. It's general. So you say, yeah, overall, the majority of people in the world likes to watch the television. However, in the UK, United Kingdom, people prefer to read the newspaper. However, most people not the least media being utilized both internationally and locally is the radio. To do something like that. Do you understand? Did you get the idea? Okay. One way of having it. And you're going to put emphasis on this. That when you are writing your introduction and you encounter acronyms like UK, for example, spell it out. Okay, for example, for your introduction, this is the rule. It's a general rule when it comes to journalism. When you are writing an acronym for the first time, you have to spell it out. For example, USA. You say United States of America, and then you close it in parentheses. You say United Kingdom na nakalagay. So United Kingdom. This is only for for your introduction. United Kingdom. You say UK. Then for your overview and your body, you can now use UK. Okay? Rule. Another rule. 1 to 9, spell out.
Sa introduction namin.
All
Overall.
over. Including your writing task. All over. It's a very generic rule. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Are you tired now? Let's just go quickly, okay? So look at here. Look at this, sorry. For your overview, you get a band 5 if you recount detail mechanically with no clear overview, band 5. And you are just recounting everything mechanically. You will say first, second, third, the highest, next to this, the third, that's mechanical. So you only get a band 5. Band 6 presents an overview with information appropriately selected. Band 7, clear overview of main trends, differences, and stages. So give a compare and contrast overview as well. That's how we get a band 7. You see now how it's very important to do well on your overview and master doing overview. Because when the examiner sees your overview and it's not stellar, it's just like a band 5, no clear overview, no data to support it, this is a reflection on your performance for your body. Because if you are mechanical already here, most probably, high chance, you're also mechanical when it comes to your body. Am I right? Isn't it? Because it's a reflection of your limited English ability. Okay, so no figures. When you're writing, go from highest to lowest, greatest to least, okay, from the start to the end of the process. Okay, so if you're looking at the dynamic graph, look for increase, decrease, peak, low, plateau, okay, and significant difference, especially if you're being asked to compare and contrast. Then, okay, these are the language of change that you can use. Gradually increasing, a slight fall, kept rising, rocketed, okay? Making comparisons. Group similar things together into paragraphs or sections. For static graph, static is already one time snap. What are the highest or lowest? Noticeable differences, similarities, and exemptions. Always just the same. Okay. Maps are unique. So if you have a map, then what are the main changes? Because there is sometimes a map that would give you a map yesterday, where like for example in 1 year, like for example 1950, and then you have another map in the future which is like maybe 1955. And then you have to spot the difference. Has there been improvement? Were some houses torn down, expanded, renovated? Was a pool added? Did they chop down all the trees in the forest? So it's something like that. So you have to describe it. Have they built anything in an area? Has there been any dramatic change in one activity? In an earlier date, they have a port. In the future, there was no more port. So you have to highlight this. Grammatical range. Try and make a complex sentence by making subordinate clauses. So I encourage you to go online and read what is a subordinate clause. How do I make a subordinate clause? There are exercises that you can do to help you improve your vocabulary and your grasp of the English grammar. And use this, okay? Make a subordinate clause structure in the overview by joining two pieces of information with the words while, although, with, even though, whereas, or and. Again, and also your conjunction. Your conjunctions are example. Very good. Okay, do not alter the author's idea. Okay, create a good overview by reading the article or text a number of times. If you don't get it, don't start writing. If you really don't understand, it's so difficult, I don't understand it, then do a mind map. Brainstorm, okay? Better for you to spend more time in analyzing than writing down something which doesn't make any sense at all. low band score. Okay. Here are words that you could use to start your overview. Generally, people just use this overall. That's it. Memorize this overall and you're good to go. Okay? How to write the body. Again, look for trends or patterns and determine your approach. We've discussed this earlier. Like, are you going to go this way to divide your ideas? Or are you going to go down? Or if it's clearly presented, you've seen it earlier, world, local. So you can do that, or how to make the lead in the pencil, or and then at the bottom was how to make the pencil base. So it's clearly dictated, aligned, something segregated. So you know how to approach that. So this one, you have to be familiar with this. I mentioned this earlier. Words that shows movement, very important with your line graph. Increase, decrease. Even for bar graphs, this because there are bar graphs that is divided according to year. So you can use this one. Okay. Words that describes degree of change, like dramatic, sharp, huge, enormous, significant. Okay, so you just have to pick your favorites. You don't need to memorize all of this. Okay, time expression in or about, since, for, between, during the period of. Okay, very common. But I just want you to focus on how to use preposition. Maybe you're very good at prepositions. I don't know because I haven't gone through your paper yet. I haven't checked your writing yet. But if you feel that you do not really know how to use in, on, at, study this table. It's very easy. You go from generic to very specific. So your generic is in. Then as you go more specific, it becomes at. Like, I live at lot 5, lot 11, homes. Don't stop me, okay? Or the time right, okay, we'll meet at 12 o'clock. Part of the chart, highest, greatest, percentage, okay? So be familiar with these terms. Okay, we did it, okay? So 5 common tasks, 1 mistakes that stop you getting over advanced 6. No clear overview, writing about everything, overcomplicating the question, not organizing ideas logically. You have your cohesion, okay? So be logical, use the mind mapping, okay? Try, practice. You've got plenty of time. And then describe data incorrectly. What's really good about you is you're a tabula rasa. You understand that you're like a clean slate. Your brain hasn't been polluted yet by other ideas. So, and you still haven't developed a technique. So you started out well. You have a technique now. You do your writing. This is what I should do. And whatever you learn here, for example, like the words that show change and contrast, use that when you are doing your speaking exercise. They're just connected. Okay. So if you're asking to compare and contrast, when it comes to your speaking exercise, you use those keywords. Okay? So, do find out what your common mistakes are. If you are unsure about your grammar and you're just working at home without the supervision or input of anyone, then I highly suggest create an account in Grammarly. It's just free, and type down your answers. Or download Grammarly. Because when you type down your answers on Word, it's going to automatically tell you like, hey, use a conjunction here, or a. Instead of using in, use on. So it's going to give you these prompts. And then also take note of what your mistakes were. So you know, I have a problem with in, on, at. So I should focus more on that, okay? Or you're like, I have a problem with consistency of tenses. I start writing from the past, then I'm moving to the future, even if I'm talking about the present. Okay, so if you know that, it's gonna tell you, grammar is gonna tell you that mistake. So you know, grammatically, you will know where you're standing at. Okay, do paraphrase, you know these things. Finally, don't use the same words for percentages and numbers. Okay, handwriting. Okay, remember these are examiners and not nurses, so they're not used to reading and trying to interpret the doctor's orders. Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna send this to you.
Will you be here this afternoon?
I'll try.
You'll try. Well, since you're not sure, let me just send you this instead, okay?
This is my handwriting.
What is your what?
Handwriting.
Oh, very good. It's very clear. It's very clear, how? Very nice. Let me send one.
Are we allowed to like make corrections on the exam sheet, like use
can-
tapes and what?
For your exam, for your test paper, okay? For your test paper, you can write, you can draw, you can do anything there. But for your answer sheet, no.
Okay.
And high chance of, yeah, you're going to be given an extra sheet, but then you're killing time. Because you know, you're like, I need an extra sheet. So, you know, you're anxious, you're waiting for the paper to arrive, it's eating your time.
So another one.
For me, okay, for me, I don't advise it because I could have that time that I'm asking for another extra sheet and then I have to rewrite everything to the other sheet. I could have used that time instead to analyze and strategize. Anyway, you're still gonna make the same mistake because you don't know. If you're doing that mistake that you need an extra sheet, that means you don't know how to organize your thoughts. So you'll have the same mistake still. Stop na.